if you're not kosher, you shouldn't be scapegoating anybody. The Jews have their definition. There's the Torah definition, which was kosher at that time. Figure it'll always be mostly kosher. Times change. Nobody deals in shekels anymore. Point being, this outsider doesn't know our ways. He's offensive to God. It's costing us money, and there's a rationally demonstrable reason that we shouldn't have to pay the price for him to leave. How do you be kosher? Are you elected? Being elected is a big step toward having some argument for not. You don't have to be elected. You're a citizen, but just being a citizen is not necessarily kosher, because the state, not all that picky. Bunch of money. Oh, you got a bunch of money, so you could hire somebody to give a crap. But if I'm like from here and I didn't actually do anything wrong, and you're just lying to these people, I mean, it's not kosher. I'm probably not going to scapegoat you. I will, however, extract the required information. That's okay. Psychological coercion? Oh, your family, that's illegal. But I and a couple of my buddies to tie you down and make you drown slow, that's protected in our religion. Most people see somebody who's rich and ostensibly productive member of the community. I guess it's relatively easy nowadays. And they're like, that guy's not a child molester. Most people take for that we don't live in a world where Islam exists. Islam will employ them over you. Islam will make a mockery of your democracy. And who saw that coming? For instance, the Navy, the United States Navy, was unfairly penalized. They didn't have a say in the matter because they did not exact revenge. Therefore, they must be pussies, and therefore require the protection of the Sheikh, the holy emperor of the global caliphate. And you got to pay for that protection, Navy. Did you forget to pray 5 times? Well, I don't necessarily have to report it to Allah, but you're going to have to do me a favor. Oh, yeah. He made amends, Allah. Learned his lesson. Forgiven for now. I'm not gay. Just had to teach him a lesson. Does this dialogue actually take place? I mean, I don't know. I mean, this is the logic. This is the rationale behind other. I don't have an inside line. I just study theologies. Presumably, other people know about this and certain conditions are met, they are obligated to act on your behalf. But if other conditions are met, they're not obligated. First, do no harm, or you're not a doctor. And some idiot who owes the wrong people money might get coerced into doing something crazy and then lying to the press. So they raped a 7-year-old Irishman under sedation in recovery from surgery, while his doctor was off doing his paperwork or whatever. They snuck some foreigner in, violated the kid's human rights, and then blamed the doctor. It was Italian. And then they said he made a wish. That was his wish. He was just born that way. And then when he goes to the doctor's like, yeah, it's a psychological problem. nobody's allowed to tell him. Maybe he was just born that way. So all they had to do was abolish the Hippocratic Oath. First, do no harm. All of a sudden, like, you could be born that way here. The Princeton University would have conducted the sit down on behalf of the Italians. That was a common thread. And it was, oh, we can't risk this kind of exposure. Fuck that kid. We'll bargain it down a narcotics charge. Took out the whole island. Now, all these years, the Irish are pussies, so they have to be looked after. The Italians are actually child molesters, but they bargained it down to a narco charge. So now, may the best narco win. We got all these computers. The federal government got all these state network, and they should be capable of adjusting. Don't really need some anti-human cabal using a gay mafia to circumvent international diplomacy, using these idiot Canadians and their felon friends for muscle in the land. When you guys, I mean, Washington, when you send each other an email, does it go through? Are you receiving my emails? Crimes against the state and humanity? Like, we can't come up with a little scratch. Donald Trump, 7 international corporate bankruptcies. The biggest welfare queen in human history. Rich billionaire. But somebody got their last paycheck and didn't work for it, or never done anything ethically compelling where I really regret, because it turns out, like, I didn't want to leave. It wasn't entirely my choice. So you cut little corners and make it look like however, and then try to kill somebody before he finds out what it really is. Now you got a Haitian press secretary. All these hospitals are staffed by Haitians because you're garbage. You're not kosher. It doesn't make any sense. Nobody backs you. I mean, you only got away with calling me a fag behind my back to run me off to begin with because you were protecting child molesters. I didn't even know about it. I had no reason to suspect. You can't play God on somebody's guilt, and they have no reason to feel guilty. And then even finding out, when they find out what it's ostensibly, well, it doesn't apply. So, gonna get my paper, my records reviewed? Or are you gonna fuck with the mail and act like the cavalry doesn't have prerogative to recover the penalties that they've been assessed? The Vatican's gonna be very interested when they hear about this, Washington. They ended up with, well, I don't want to disrespect, obviously. It's okay, whatever. Point is, put us all in a very hazardous position. First, do no harm, or you're not a doctor. What does it say on your paperwork? Probably a healthcare provider, right? But it doesn't carry the same kind of authority it used to. It's legal. If it's not legal, it's not the law. So, usually, if there's a religion involved, there has to be justification. Somebody has to back you. There is a rational explanation. If it bleeds, it's not a god. Islam is not a religion. Religion is a search for universal and eternal truth. It allows for science. Hell, it encourages science. Like the patriarchal system, it's called patronage. Well, I'm sorry I can't take your money because you're a woman. It's all ridiculous. The reason there's a patriarchy is because I cannot ethically defrock a woman in front of her whole congregation and maintain a moral high ground, because she obviously didn't rape her way into a throne she doesn't own. But it's not a defense. Like, it's not like, oh, even better, because now you got these marauders going around doing dumb shit, and there's no way. I can't possibly rape all these Protestants by myself, Rome, and that's the only language they speak. You go back to find out who's responsible for it. I'm a lady. Like, amnesty. Well, were you coerced? Like, are you a hostage? No, they're your sons. And this is why we burn witches. The Vikings will do it just because you might find out, this person knows whose castle they're not supposed to be there. You can read the title because it's the daughter of the nobility that they stole the castle from. So that's why if she sinks, she's not a witch. Like, if she dies anyway, we'll drop the charges. But no, we don't have female. What the Old Testament forbids sorceresses because the peasants can't tell the difference. If we show up, they're gonna be like, "What are they doing to that lady?" I think we're just some more barbarians. Oh. 2015, somebody tried to kill me because a doctor ripped off the insurance company. For some reason, I'm obligated to play along. I'm not allowed to sue because somebody, FBI's under some impression the Saudis made an investment. I don't think American media is capable of the kind of repercussions that are called for. I don't think you could possibly be politically correct enough. Democracy is not blanket immunity for whatever you did get elected. There has to be a reason, a rationally demonstrable record, which explains. You can't just be like, "Oh, Americans are all crazy now. It must be the drugs. Send more drugs. They're just born that way, so it doesn't really matter. Oh, they got married and had kids. Well, I guess they're off the hook." Like, with no recourse. Like, nobody ever has to say anything to the guy's face. You don't just move a little money around and act like it's fixed and the church can't do anything about it. I didn't see any kind of confirmation. Like, I'm not connected to the Italian community where, there's no closure. First, do no harm, or you don't call people crazy. If somebody's having a problem where they require assistance, a healthcare provider may be required to. However, if they have a criminal complaint, you're not just going to call them crazy. Act like the law ain't got to listen. U.S. News and World Report makes this dude Person of the Year right around the time of the pandemic, full swing. That's quite an accomplishment. Must have saved a lot of lives, considering he's a behavioral health provider. How do other ostensibly medical professionals feel about having their fate tied to Sigmund Freud, homosexual, cocaine distributor, and fugitive in exile? How long do generally useful practitioners have to pay for the dead weight of this experiment? What's the exit strategy? I mean, regardless if there's such a thing as capitalist medicine or not, how long do you expect to keep your doors open? I mean, equal opportunity was deemed necessary at the time, I'm sure. But when it starts being used to just turn your workforce over, just turn over to address a national deficit based on bankruptcy for profit, because we can't just back our population credit and there's only so many Americans. Washington, New Jersey State Police don't get casinos because we've never done business to where they would even know who I am. And it's not protection. Like, you do not put an Irish American kid under Saudi protection. I just, we're made of different stuff. Anybody needs protection, it's them. This goes back to what I was saying about the UN being the Third Reich. Like, I'm not a Holocaust denier. I'm just saying it's still going on.